Good evening once again. Our mentors are already here to hit the ground running, and I'll give them the opportunity to tell us about themselves. In the last few days, I've tried to put out a concise feature, a brief summary of their profile, which is not comprehensive enough, and probably I may have missed out some important facts they want us to know about them, their work and background. So I'll give it to, in the order of appearance of the photo on the flyer, I'll give it to Dr. Ibalajobi, please. Can we meet you? Tell us about yourself, your background, and whatever you want us to know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Can you all hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
we
we can.
All right, thank you. I guess a lot of people know me already. My name is Olumoyiwa Ibalajobi. I am a postdoctoral research fellow at the University of British Columbia, Canada. I had my first degree in microbiology. That was in 2010 from the University of Ado-Ekiti. And then in 2013, I proceeded for my master's in South Korea, courtesy of the South Korean government scholarship. I finished my master's in 3 years, 1 year of Korean language program and 2 years of master's. Then I left for Germany at Karlsruhe Institute of Technology, which is very close to my brother's current place of residence. I did my PhD within 3 years and 2 months, and then I moved to Canada as a postdoctoral research fellow 2 years ago. My area of interest, microbiologist, I'm a mycologist. I started as a bacteriologist back in Nigeria, and then I switched to being a mycologist, the study of fungi. And I've been, working on filamentous fungi. Now I'm currently working on yeast in the last 8 years. So my major research focus is to explore drug repurposing for the treatment of infectious disease caused by Cryptococcus informant, which is a pathogenic fungus that is responsible for over 200,000 HIV/AIDS-related deaths annually. And outside the laboratory, to balance things, I'm the founder of Scholarship Cafe with over 250,000 followers on YouTube and Twitter. And since 2020, our mandate is to connect qualified candidates to real-time scholarship opportunities and jobs in academia at no cost. So thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here. And I want to say you're doing an amazing job, and please keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Olumoyiwa, for that wonderful introduction and for accepting to be here. It's quite an honor to have you here. I move on very quickly to our unique mentor for this evening, Dr. Ezinne Ezepue. Please, could we meet you just briefly?
Hi, good evening, everyone. I hope you can all hear me.
Yes, we can.
Yes,
Okay, cool.
we can hear you,
So
Doctor.
I am, all right. I'm Ezinne Ezepue, and I think actually my bio is what you've just read, and that might be everything really. But I got my my BA from the University of Nigeria in Nsukka. My background is theater and film studies. Then proceeded to University of Birmingham in the UK for my master's. Usually it's about 1 year there. And then afterwards, I proceeded to Birmingham City University, same Birmingham as well, but a different university for my PhD, which completed in less than 3 years actually, but it was a great time. Both masters was in film, essentially with a concentration on television and documentary filmmaking. And then my PhD was in media studies with a concentration on the Nigerian film industry. I was really interested in the transformation that was reshaping the industry. So I wanted to find out if these transformations were in any way gentrifying the industry. And since then, I've been really interested in film economies in Africa and how they can be economized. And then actually, I'm a lecturer at the University of Nigeria where I teach film studies. And I'm currently in Germany, International Film School. I'm speaking Dutch already. International Film School, which is an affiliate of THACON, which is the University of Applied Sciences. one of the biggest universities in Cologne, Germany. I am a Humboldt scholar. I am currently starting my postdoctoral research in African storytelling. And this research is essentially about trying to find out how African folklore or African mythologies can be economized in such a way that they are put to usefulness by the youth to curb unemployment challenges, and also to help us as Africans to use what we have that have been handed over to us to see how we can begin to redefine us as Africans, essentially build a new idea, create a new identity, a new identifier for us, and be able to transport that to non-Africans, to unseat the stereotypes that already existing about Africans. My research have always been around film studies. I've been an ardent, I'm a feminist. Feminist in the sense that I'm really interested in women empowerment. I'm interested in women knowing that they have more to offer to the world than just sitting behind and waiting for the men to lead, when they can actually take up the mantle and, you know, carve out a niche for themselves and make impacts in the world. I'm a firm believer that women have more to offer to the world than just come into the world, study like my Nigerian students, once they're in their third year, final year, they're already looking out for when is the man coming, where is the man coming from? And they're also, all they're thinking about is marriage. And so I'm a firm believer that there is more we can do with our lives rather than just wait and say, oh, all I am in this world to do is to get married, have children, and then raise them, and then my time in the world is finished. I am in the University of Nigeria. I set up this Africa Unscripted initiative where I work with young undergraduate students who are interested in storytelling, especially script writing. I wanted to see how it actually is a pet project which I started just before my postdoc came about. I want to see how I can work with students who are interested in script writing to create authentic African stories, especially now that international organizations are interested in African stories. I'm interested in getting young people to tell authentic African stories, create narratives that will promote Africa and promote the young ones, give them a voice, an avenue to actually tell the world who they are and who they want to be. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was really long.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Shebi, now you ask me. No
I
vex.
said briefly. I appreciate. We go to our third speaker, panelist for this evening, Dr. Tochukwu Omemba. Please, sir, can you just tell us who you are? Let's meet you, sir.
Okay, thank you so much, Emma, and all the participants. Emmanuel, you are doing a wonderful job by this program, and I thank you for that. I will just simply be so brief with my introduction of myself. My name is Tochukwu Omemba. I hold a PhD from the Department of Political Science, University of Nigeria. Both my first and second degree is from Department of Political Science, University of Nigeria. My specialty is in comparative politics. And within these 5 years, I finished my PhD. I've received 2 fellowships, one from the University of Johannesburg, South Africa, from 2017 to 2020. And the second one, which is the current one, the Alexander von Humboldt at the University of Technical University, Berlin. My research area is basically on 2 areas. The primary research area is on conflict studies, particularly on counterterrorism. And the interest in counterterrorism is looking at the critical issues about counterterrorism. And that critical issue is the citizenship, which has been ignored in the process of counterterrorism. Therefore, my study looks at how the citizens, how the people respond to terrorism in Africa, in Somalia, in Nigeria, and within the Lake Chad area. Then my second research area is on democracy, with respect to consolidation of democracy. And then looking at the judiciary, how does the judiciary help to improve the democratic process in Nigeria? These are basically my 2 areas of research. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I do not know if you prefer that your video be off. I wanted to be sure that you are aware. Dr. Omema.
Pardon, this is what?
I said, do you want your video to be turned off while you speak? I wanted to be sure that you are aware.
Yeah. It's a pity that I'm currently in Nigeria, but where I am, there is no light. I'm still in the office, there's no light. That's why I turned it off. Sorry, I'm very sorry for that.
No problem, sir. I wanted to be sure that you are aware that is
yes,
turned off.
I'm aware.
It's okay. Let's get straight to business. We're here to talk about securing postdoc position abroad, and everybody who has registered for this workshop and who is currently here is itching to know how do we begin this process? What is the starting point? But I want to throw to our panelists this question. What characterizes a postdoc position? Now, is it just an extension of supervised research as we have done in our master's and PhD, or do we get to undertake independent research to prove the skills we must have acquired during the PhD? I throw that to Dr. Ibalajobi, please. Can you just shed some light in your view as a scientist? I don't know if you can still hear us, Dr.
Sorry, yeah, sorry. From my perspective as a mycologist and a scientist, a postdoctoral position is an extension of my expertise, my research, my area of focus. I see postdoc positions, which is quite a misconception, especially when I receive emails every week from people that want to use the postdoctoral route to JAPA, which is a common language in the community. I see the postdoctoral route as a phase which is in between finishing a PhD and getting a faculty position. So which comes with a lot of, index metrics in terms of how you lead a team, how you supervise a team, how you are independent, the numbers of grad students you've been able to mentor, the number of undergrad students you've been able to mentor, and the number of co-op students you've been able to mentor. So it's almost impossible to have a PhD in a particular field and then, exploring a different field completely different from your PhD for postdoc. So for me, a postdoctoral position in my own field is an extension of what I've done in PhD, which is I worked on, for instance, I work on a filamentous fungi, which is a plant pathogenic fungi during my PhD. And in my postdoc right now, I'm working on a human pathogenic fungi, but I'm still using about 80% of the expertise and skills that I acquired during my PhD and master's for this in this particular position. But right now, I have other responsibility like supervising students, teaching, and also, doing other service roles. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I want to see how this resonates with you're in the arts and humanities. I don't know, is this the same with your field? Because I'm sure that those who are non-STEM PhDs will want to hear how this applies to the non-STEM positions.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Dr. Ibalajobi. Yeah, Ibalajobi. Yeah, I do agree with him. It is a build on what you've always researched on. So it's not like an entirely different area. So it sort of builds on what you've always done, both in your PhD or probably the research you started doing after your PhD. So yes, but I'm thinking what your question, when I read your question, I thought what you wanted to know is when you're on a postdoc, are you going to be researching solely by yourself, or like you have a master's, or in the master's or PhD, if there is someone who is going to be telling you or coaching you on what to do and all of that? If that is the question, I think it's just slightly different in a postdoc. You tend to have a supervisor or a mentor, we like to call them mentor, someone who is always available for you to go to. It's almost like you need one person rather than have too many persons or anybody you want at any point in time to talk to. You have a dedicated person who is an expert in the area you're researching, who you talk to for clarification of maybe your ideas, or you have questions, or you have confusions. But essentially, the research is your work to do. It is your work. You're now beyond a PhD. You are more like either an early career or an older researcher. But essentially, what you need a supervisor for, a mentor for, is to be there, to always be available, so that you don't go talking to different persons and get a different perspective, or just that one person available at all times.
Okay, thank you for bringing that perspective of independence. Yes, the independence is a key part of the question I'm also asking, which Dr. Muyiwa has also touched on a bit. Dr. Mimba, can you throw some light on how this applies to your field as a social scientist? Is it the same?
Yes, yeah, thank you. I think I agree with the two panelists, for it is an extension of both your master's and the PhD dissertation. But if you are a prolific writer, you can divert a little bit from your PhD or master's degree. What do I mean by a prolific writer? If you have published severally on a particular area outside your PhD thesis, yeah, you can pursue that with your in your postdoctoral fellowship. For instance, you research on democracy in your PhD, but in the process of researching, you have published on conflict, or you have published in elsewhere, another area. You have published 2 or 3 papers in that particular area. Yes, you can now tailor your postdoctoral fellowship along that area. And because of your publication, and I always tell my friends that your publication is, in fact, your first certificate that any host or any mentor will see. Therefore, if you have 3 or 4 publications, a solid publication on a particular area, different from your master's degree, different from your PhD, then you can pursue that in your postdoctoral fellow. And most of the hosts or mentors, they're always interested in seeing someone living out a little bit on their PhD, finding a new niche in another area. But generally, it's always it's normally within your master's degree and PhD degree. But if you are a prolific writer, as I have said, you can easily move a little bit away from your research area. For instance, when I applied for my postdoctoral fellowship in South Africa, my area of research was on democracy. But because I have published 3 or 4 papers in a good journals, then I have to pursue on conflict. And my host and mentor, she was on conflict. And when I submitted my proposal and 3 samples of my publication, she was easily accepted me as her host. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think your question clarifies the question I have here in the chat. I mean, your response clarifies the question I have here in the chat from Kedrick, asking if it is not possible to do a postdoc position in a related research field of your area of research. So I think from what he has said, there's a possibility to tilt a bit, of course, within your field, but maybe in another area, a novel area, or an uncharted territory within your field. I don't know if Dr. Muyo wants to say something.
Yeah, I quite agree. I mean, I like the perspective coming from the non-STEM, like you can publish outside your area of interest. Like, for us in the field of STEM, especially in biological sciences, that might be almost impossible while you're doing your PhD, because you have, let's say we work with reagents and not, you have to like be specific and, do your jobs. And also if you're publishing outside, you could talk about review papers, yes, but when it comes to postdoc in the field of science, especially microbiology, they want to see the hands-on experience and all those things like that. In terms of doing independent research, probably it's okay to digress a little bit to industry postdocs, because I don't want to say where everybody's interested in academic postdocs here. So like for industry postdocs, you have situations, I've seen adverts where from big pharma, they ask for people to submit proposal, to the industry to see if their research objectives or their research proposal are kind of, can be funded. And, with your expertise, you can divert into quite a lot of things. Maybe you're doing something related to fungi and you have an expertise in bacteria. You can combine those tools together and sell your proposal to the industry, and they provide you with the necessary infrastructures to carry out your research. So I think we should always emphasize, maybe my perspective has changed in the last couple of months, to talk about industry postdocs and academic postdocs. So if you're really interested in postdoc, it's not just about we're preparing you for a faculty position. You can also be in the industry to do your industry postdocs there. Yeah.
Thank you for that interesting drift, and you've had that first from Dr. Muyiwa. There is a lot of opportunities outside of the academia, and I read a feature paper on Nature talking about the movement of PhDs outside from academia to non-academic positions, and it's a global issue, and it's something that a lot of people are trying to explore at this moment. Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Muyiwa. You see, the speakers here are carefully chosen to represent STEM and non-STEM fields, so that somehow we'll be able to cover at least the major academic fields. Ibrahim is asking a question. You will get the answer to these questions as we proceed. I want to say, what is the first step? What is the first step to successfully securing a postdoc position abroad? How did you find yours? So this is not some kind of talking about some big theory somewhere. What is the first step from your opinion and from your story? How did you find yours? Folks, prepare for different perspectives and stories and fun time, because this is personal story loaded. Let's start with Dr. Ezinne. Can you tell us what is the first step to successfully secure postdoc position? Because Ibrahim is worried. He said, am I missing something? How do we successfully, secure this position? I've applied several, it's not working. So what is the first step? How did you get yours? 2 arms to the question. Thank you.
Oh, Ibrahim, don't worry. I also applied several times and I got several no's. But I think the first thing for everyone here is be ready for no's and do not take it too badly. All right. It's not like you are bad or you're not doing well. It's not like your proposal is whack. It's just perhaps it's not fitting into what their funders or the advertisers really want at that point. So I think the important thing is, or the key thing is your proposal. What do you want to do? You have to define and redefine. You have to define and refine your research proposal. What's the research idea? What is it beyond you? Because you could prepare one, I think, oh, this is amazing. Give it to people to look at. Let them see what you're proposing to do. I guess this, at first, I'm a very independent researcher. I like to do things by myself. So like, I don't worry people, I don't bug people. But for this particular research proposal, I passed it through this potential supervisor, my current host. It went through him even before I did submit my application eventually. It went through my PhD supervisor as well. And I remember then, red penning almost every corner. This is not good. This idea is not clear. What is the potential here? What is the question here? What do you hope to achieve with this and all that? So these questions are really vital. For myself, like I said, my PhD I got in 2018, and from 2019, 2020, 2021, I was actively, or maybe not very actively, but somewhat, I was applying for PhD. And guess what? 2019, I got no's. 2020, I got no's. 2021, I got no's as well, but I didn't give up. So never give up. Sometimes it's really daunting and very discouraging when you get this no's. But the thing is, what I do not do is, once I get a no, to still use the same proposal untouched, unedited for the next one. And remember, the calls or the adverts are never the same. one might be asking for a particular thing and your formal proposal might not fit in. And that's the mistake most of us make. Once you have a research idea and we have that proposal written, we just use it to apply for all schools and all adverts and all that. It doesn't work that way. Okay, I'll stop here.
Thank you very much. Let's turn to the STEM man. Dr. Muyiwa, what do you say? What is the first step and how did you get yours? What are the quick tips you can throw in here and there?
Okay, I think I will go with Dr. Isn't it? I think it's really relative, like someone that's been in, I've been a postdoc for close to 3 years now. And I remember applying for a postdoc a year to the end of my PhD. So I have this thing.
Ooh, that was quick.
I have this thing like once I want to move to another phase, I plan ahead, like for my master's, my PhD, before I started applying for PhD was a year before my master's. Before I finished my PhD, I knew I was going to leave Germany. So I started applying, I started testing the waters with my CV. And I think one thing that is really different from maybe the mentors and people that are, looking for postdocs now is the motivation to get the postdoc. And the motivation which I talk about is the fact that there's a problem statement in Nigeria or any other African country, and people really want to move. And that is the first goal that people have in mind, like, okay, to get a postdoc is the easiest route for me to leave. But I'm sorry to say, if you have this mindset, you might not get a postdoc position. Because this mindset has always, it has always clouded a lot of people's mindset in terms of what is the specific research problem you want to address. I keep telling people, especially on platforms like this, that postdoctoral positions funding is not charity. You need to show that you are bringing a skill and expertise that is exceptional to the group. And so when you see a lot of advertised positions online, you start applying. If my brother shared a position online, if I would post a position online on Twitter, a lot of people will apply. And what makes it different? You have to be exceptional. You have to have the right skills and expertise. And in most cases, for people in my field in Nigeria, the basic expertise to conduct research, it's not there. Even for those that are applying for grad school, when I see their CV, I tell them, you writing the ability to prepare a reagent or the ability to prepare an agar cannot pass to grad school. It cannot. You need to be able to do something that is exceptional. So you need to identify the research problem you want to address in your postdoc. Ask yourself, why am I doing a postdoc? If your 80% reason of doing a postdoc is to leave Nigeria or Cameroon or Kenya with the rest of your family, I'm sorry, you may not get it. But so you need to identify the research problem. You need to be sure that, okay, even to search for professors, especially in my field, you can, my own story, I went through the cold email route. In fact, I met my professor back in Korea in 2017 when I went back to Korea for a conference a year after my PhD. So I met my current professor there. And when I was applying for postdoc, I went back to the book of abstract of that conference. I'm going to talk about networking. So I went back to the group of abstract of that conference. I started looking at people in Canada that came for the conference. And I sent a cold email. Oh, I saw your research field. This is my CV. This is what I've been able to achieve so far. This is the numbers of papers I've been able to publish in my PhD. I would appreciate an opportunity to talk to you to discuss research issues and research problems in your field. And within 24 hours, he replied, and okay, Dr. Igbala-Jobi, let's talk, let's have a Zoom meeting. And we had a Zoom meeting, and he asked about my background. He even said, I went through your paper that you published in your PhD, and I hope we can, reproduce some of the expertise you have in our lab, because it's novel. Nobody has ever done that before. And the next email was like, welcome to our lab. So you need to position yourself well. You need to have the right expertise. You need to focus on networking. Thanks to COVID, on the other side, no thanks to COVID because of the issues that it caused to the world. There are lots of conferences right now that are you can participate remotely. You can identify with professors in your field of interest. Every professor you see on social media saying, congratulations, I'm having a position, I will begin an assistant professor position. They need a PhD student, they need a postdoctoral research fellows. They have funding for those things. So you need to also have a visible social media imprint. Oh, I'm very shy. I don't belong to the social media. I don't want village people to see me. How do people assess your work? How do people assess your scholarly achievement if it is just in your CV on your computer? So you need to be visible out there. In my own case, like I've said, I focused on networking. I landed several postdoc interviews, which eventually didn't work in the UK, in the US. And even after the rejections, I still wrote them, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk to you. I hope we can collaborate in the future. It didn't end that. So if you have rejections, you please go back to your documents. From my perspective, from my experience with most grad students and also postdoctoral research fellows, I've seen their CV. Most of them, I think we're still going to talk about the CV format later. Most of them are not worthy of international standards. You still have the number of kids, the number of children, the age of the children, the local government of origin, the religion, your languages on your CV, and you're looking for postdoctoral positions outside. I'm sorry to say, those are not the first thing they want to see on your CV. They want to see someone that have the right skills and expertise, someone that will bring strength to their field. If I'm a professor today and I want to recruit a postdoc, I need someone that would be able to manage a set of grad students in my lab. And in Germany, as a master, why most people don't get PhD positions in Germany is because as a PhD student in Germany, you must be able to supervise a master's student. And as a postdoctoral fellow in Germany, you must be able to supervise a PhD student without any issue. So please, the first thing, like Dr. Exine said, is that identify what you really want to do. Identify a research problem. Don't just keep applying for every postdoctoral positions you see out there and believing God will make a way. It doesn't work that way. You have to have the skills, the right expertise that fits, that plugs into that postdoctoral position. Thank you. I hope I haven't spoken so much, and I would stop for now.
Thank you very much. I see some people, some of our participants raising their hands. Probably they have questions, burning questions you want to ask. But if we allow every participant to ask questions verbally, vocally, it will take more time. So kindly just drop it in the chat. I can see the questions coming in, and also a lot of introduction and a lot of persons expressing their willingness to get it right this time. I'm sure that if you take the tips that will be coming from our eminent scholars that are hosting, that are panelists on this talk this evening, if you take these tips, you will find that in your next application, you will be properly motivated. And I'm going to be jumping a bit faster now because we plan to have this for 1 hour, and time is of essence to those of us who are outside the shores of Africa. Everything is booked, and you want to be sure to keep within the limit. And I'll quickly jump to Dr. Tochukwu. From your experience, we have clearly expressed what are the tips and all those things, the steps of securing this postdoc position. But are there tips and tricks that needs to be applied to even find the vacant position? Dr. Muyiwa has touched a little bit on being on social media. Are there other things you have to say about finding the position, the advertisements, the vacancies? Are there things you want to say about this, and what requirements are recurring? Things like publications and issue and things like this. So please, over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. I think the last two speakers, they have spoken a lot on that, but let me just emphasize a little thing. My emphasis on is identifying yourself. Most researchers or people seeking for postdoctoral fellowship gloss over these aspects. They don't even know what they want to do. They don't even know their research interests. They graduated, they feel that they just want a postdoctoral fellowship without knowing their particular research interest they want to do. And it's in a normal setting for looking for postdoctoral fellowship, you identify two research interests. You have your first, what we call your primary research interest, and the second one is the secondary research interest. And this primary and secondary research interest, you prepare proposals, 2 proposals or 3. And most likely you prepare 2 proposals, one on your primary research interest and secondly on your secondary research interest. And look out for calls, look out for invitation for proposal. And if these invitations or calls falls within these areas, you have planned your proposal, you submit one of the proposals. But the problem is that most of them don't plan themselves. They just think that a postdoctoral fellowship, you just go there for a jamboree. That is far from it. Then the other aspect I want to talk about is the publication. I think I've said it earlier that most of the hosts or the mentors, they are not interested in your PhD. They are already aware that you have PhD. But what are they interested in? Your publication. Your publication is the certificate they normally see. They normally require a sample publication. Therefore, if you have identified a host, the first thing you have to do is send your sample publication in a very good indexed journal. And if you send that your sample publication, it tells so much about you. And such sample publication, you should either be the first author or the corresponding author, showing that you have contributed significantly in that journal. Most often than not, it is still equally preferred that you are a sole author. And if you're a sole author in a particular journal, it equally saves you so much. Then the other aspect I want to talk a little bit is on the hosts. How do I find a host if you are interested in postdoctoral fellowship? The first thing, go to the university website, go to the internet, look for their address, look for study their profile. How is their profile? Is their profile related to your area of interest? What do I bring to the table in this research? If your mentor or your potential mentor is working on a particular area and you feel that that area he or she is working is not really related on their own area you are working, you find a way to tailor your own proposal towards your own area, because you have to bring something to her table. If you don't have anything to bring to her table, you don't need to be there. And second thing is that you have to have a kind of an abridged CV. An abridged CV will tell so much about you, and from that perspective, their potential host will likely study you, to know whether is this person capable of being my mentee? Is this person capable of supervising students? Is this person capable of taking an independent research? Therefore, these are the very good tips in terms of identifying the host. Then the other one, he has talked about networking. You see, when you want to do a postdoctoral fellowship, the last speaker talked about motivation and planning ahead. You have to plan ahead. I finished my PhD in 2015. By the time I'm dropping my pen in PhD, I've already applied for a postdoctoral fellowship. Even though it didn't turn out positive, but the reply from that my application is that my proposal was on a waiting list. It was advertised for 5 postdoctoral fellowship, and I applied. And out of the 5, 6 persons were shortlisted. I was shortlisted. Why did I achieve that? Because I had planned ahead. As I was doing my PhD dissertation, submitting paper, I was already searching for which postdoctoral fellowship fits my area of interest. And if you plan ahead with that, you can easily get postdoctoral fellowship. Postdoctoral fellowship is not a very difficult thing. It's not, but if you plan yourself well ahead of your application, certainly you will make it within a short period. I finished in 2015, and in 2016, I've already gotten my postdoctoral fellowship in South Africa for 3 years. Therefore, plan ahead, motivate yourself. Don't feel that it's an impossible area to go. It's not an impossible area. But when you identify your research interest and your research area, then you will likely land one before you know it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. For a lot of persons are lamenting over the numerous no's that they have. And when I was also looking for a PhD scholarship, I used to assure myself that I need only 1 yes. Only 1 yes, and you will forget all the no's and all the emails and all the sleepless nights. It actually takes effort, and this effort must be sincere desire to contribute to the field, and not just JAPA formula, as Dr. Muyiwa will put it. It's not just a way to escape the hellhole that Trump has referred to as Africa, but a desire to study in the best or contribute to science or your field or your profession under the best possible facilities. And here we are. I'm going to be jumping faster because my time is counting down already. I'm going to lump a question I'm seeing here in the chat with my own next prepared question. And this question, this person, Chinwe Nama Okechukwu, is asking, what are those skills and expertise you need for a postdoc? I want our panelists to just make it very brief. Skills and expertise needed for a postdoc, and how to prepare a winning CV. Just these are two bulky subjects, but as much as we can, let's try to keep it short so that we'll use the next time to touch on other questions and that we have here. Let me start with Dr. Muyiwa, please. You talked about skills, expertise, and you try to mention this as it pertains to your field. What can you say generally?
Okay, for me, my field of interest, the concept of a winning CV, someone wrote to me earlier today to say she wrote a university to ask them how competitive their program is, so the concept of a winning CV would start from putting things that are necessary, things that are only meant to be there. Like I've said, if you're applying for academic jobs in Nigeria, yes, you can put all those catchment area qualities, qualifications. But if you're applying to Germany, if you're applying to Canada, if you're applying to Japan, if you're applying to the UK, there's so many templates of CV on these universities that you can even adapt. I've made 2 videos on what not to include in your CV, what is meant to be included in your CV. I made it to a faculty position in June this year, which I was close to getting a professorial position. It was based on what I've done so far. And the fact that I was able to show that I've been around the world. I had my master's in South Korea. I had my bachelor in Nigeria. I had my PhD in Germany. And from that, I incorporated those things into my cover letter that shows that I'm someone of international repute and I have this diversified experience all over the world. So, writing a winning CV, it has to go straight to the fact that you need to understand what the system needs. So if you are looking for postdoctoral position in Nigeria, yes, there are postdoctoral positions in Nigeria. NUC is sponsoring postdocs abroad. And this comes to the last speaker when it comes to the issues of hosts. So you necessarily don't have to get funding from your host. You might decide to get funding from NUC and bring it along and say, okay, I have money. I'm coming as a postdoc. So with the expertise, they would be so delighted to receive you. So in terms of CV, you just have to make sure your CV is concise and your CV carries your expertise. I've seen, I'm quite appalled to see I'm happy to see prospective PhD candidates in the chat. You don't need an SOP for postdocs. I don't know, in other fields, maybe you need an SOP for postdoc, but if you're applying for a postdoctoral position, you'll probably need a personal essay and also, a befitting CV that is devoid of, sex, gender, and because these are issues in the developed world that people must not recruit you based on race, religion, and political affiliation.
Thank you very much. Coming to the non-STEM, Dr. Ezine, is there something different you want to talk about? Skills, expertise needed for postdoc, and key issues to highlight in the CV from your experience?
I think, like I said in the very beginning, I'm a very independent person, very independent researcher. So most of the things I'll also dare say that I don't know about Dr. Olumuyiwa. Did anybody teach you to do your CV? Sometimes these are things you simply ask Google, and then it's update yourself. It's not a template that was given to you 5 years ago you're using in the modern time. Update, go to Google, ask questions. It gives you options, and then you pick the one that you think is very updated. So most of the things are things you learn to do for yourself. I believe in DIY, do it yourself. Then once you've done your part and there's a place that you can't get right, then ask someone who is better or who you believe knows more in that area, but at least do your part, upgrade yourself a little bit, and then seek for help to get even beyond. that's all I'll say about CV. Honestly, I don't think anyone helps me with my CV. I don't remember anyone. In fact, I don't know if I ever did CVs. Like I didn't take it seriously. I just know that you want to do,
sorry to cut you short. Yeah, people pay for CV writing in Nigeria.
I don't get like I've never. I graduated 2008, served 2009. By 2011, I was back to UNN as a lecturer, graduate assistant. Nobody did my CV. I got my master's was a scholarship from Shibling by myself. No one did my CV. No one did my personal statement or whatever. My PhD proposal, I wrote by myself. No one helps with it. The thing is, you being knowing, at least being confident in yourself first and foremost, because if you don't have that confidence, there is no way I will help you build that up. It starts within you, and then I can help you, or someone else can help you, boost it, but it has to be in there already before you help coming from outside can make an impact.
Thank you very much.
So soft skills you can develop by yourself. Actually start with yourself first.
Thank you very much. And just to drop this in, if you're looking for a European position, there is what they call a Europa CV. There's a format that is available, or just Google CV template for North America, CV template for Canada or something. There will always be a lot of results that you can easily refine and have a picture of what is tenable in those places. Somebody is asking if there is an age limit for applying for postdoc, for example, in early 40s and all of this. If there is an age limit, this will be specified in the call for the application. And I saw a question referring to Dr. Omemma. Please, how do I get a host for AVH? That is Alexander von Humboldt at their sites. Please help. Dr. Omemma, could you quickly take that? How do we find hosts for Alexander von Humboldt, as this person has asked, or a supportive supervisor? Because I can find in the chat some pre-doctoral students are here, those who are concluding masters, those who are seeking doctoral position, even though this is a postdoc workshop. So how do we find a host? Can you just make it brief? Olumuyiwa told us he got his from a former conference booklet. And how do we find a host? Yeah, very funny ways we get these things.
Yeah, thank you so much. Finding a host for AVH is so simple. Google the universities, check the profiles of the lecturers or professors in your area, and just write them. But I think what is most important thing is how do you approach your hosts? I think that is the most important thing. Yeah, you can get hosts through networking. You can get hosts through recommendation from friends and relations. But the most important thing, how do I write my host? I have a little way, a kind of a few statements about how to write your host. Because most often than not, postdoctoral fellows or potential ones, when they want to write their host, they want to impress their host that he is already an established person, that he has done this and he has done that, he has done that. Fine. It's a very simple way of writing your host. First, introduce yourself in a very simple manner by saying, my name is, by way of introduction, my name is Dr. John Daniel, a lecturer in XY University. I hold a PhD in comparative politics from the University of Johannesburg. My research interest is on XYZ. So my master's degree thesis was on ABCD, which, however, supported my PhD thesis on this particular area. My current research interest is on XYZ, and this can be attested by my publication in XYZ journals or book chapter published in a well-endorsed company like Routledge. And the next thing you have to do is tell your host, let your host or your potential host understand that you have known the person. You have already studied his profile. Tell him about his research. Tell him about his achievement on research. Tell him about even the current research he's undertaking. Then the last one you have to do, the last paragraph, is your intention in a very humble way, trying to tell him that even though that he has research on this way, even though you have research on this way, that you are ready to learn that you are ready to put yourself to learn. And learning is to complement his own research interest with your own research interest. And by this way, you are seeking his permission to be a host. For instance, when I applied for my own, I searched for I got 3 or 4 hosts, professors on my own area. And I developed a sample letter and I wrote all of them. Fortunately for me, 3 of them replied almost within the same time. Therefore, it was difficult for me to pick a particular person. Now, what happened is that I developed a kind of a title of my paper and shared it with these 3 scholars I have identified. And from my discussion with 3 of them, I discovered that one of them is trying to marry my relationship, my primary research and my secondary research. And the other one was only focusing on my secondary research. And the third one was not even focusing on my first and my primary and secondary research. Therefore, I decided to go along with the person that focused on my primary and my secondary research. He's trying to marry democracy and conflict resolution. And his area is on deliberative democracy. How you can use deliberative democracy interfacing with its citizens as a process of countering terrorism in Africa. And because of that fantastic relationship, marriage, I have to stick with him. And I said, and identified with him and accepted to go with him. And in the process, it was a fantastic relationship. And I achieved I had the award with the Humboldt Fellowship. Therefore, as you are approaching your host, be very, very humble. Even though you have to put yourself strongly, letting him know that you have published a particular paper on a particular area, letting him know that you are good in methodology, letting him know that you are good in this particular area, but finally, tell him that you are also ready to learn and because of his own expertise on this area. Thank you very much. I think this one is enough for now.
Thank you very much. I think you've thrown a lot of light to finding a host. I found my current supervisor on a paper. I was trying to review a paper I received from a peer review journal during the COVID. And while I was trying to internationalize the problem I was looking at, I ran into a thesis supervised by my current supervisor, and I found an issue related to what I was looking at in the Nigerian context right here in Germany, and that was how we got talking. So I mean, there is no straight cut or straight jacket method to these things. We just have to be open and we just have to be passionate, and it must be about advancing your career, advancing your field, and not just about leaving point A to point B. We are wrapping up. This conversation is getting really interesting. I wish we can extend it, but I do not know how to do this at this point. Somebody was saying he wishes an engineer was in the panelists, among the panelists. Well, sorry, we couldn't get an engineer to be here. I do not know if I'm missing an important question. Somebody is saying, I want the mentors to throw light on planning research activities. I know you need a research plan for a PhD or a postdoc. Any light on this? We'll just take, I don't know how long.
Emma, can I come in a little bit? Look at that, your number 6 question. Your number 6 question is very, very important. How do I make my application outstanding?
Okay.
Yeah, if you can work on that a little bit, it is very, very interesting.
Okay, can you start off with that? How to make our application stand out?
Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, the first process of making your application to stand out is what is your title? The title of your proposal. The title of your proposal should be both general and specific. What do I mean by general? You should not identify a title of your proposal that is within a local area. For instance, I want to study the counterterrorism in Nigeria. That is so limited. Then you can say, I want to study counterterrorism in Africa. For instance, I have a very few titles you can hear. Let me read it out. How can Ethiopians, young adults, escape poverty amid layers of crisis? You see, how can Ethiopian young adult escape poverty amid layers of a crisis? You see, this title, even though it's talking about Ethiopia, But there are other African countries that are in poverty and layers of a crisis. Therefore, this kind of research or this kind of title, if we pursue it, the solution or the findings will not only be related in Ethiopia, but it can equally apply in Nigeria. It can equally apply in Mali. It can equally apply in other areas. Therefore, you have to make your title a little bit broad, even though it has to be specific, but the components has to be broad. For instance, another title is Engaging with Police to Improve Human Rights Records in Slum Urban Cities. This is a very good title. We have not particularized their particular title in a particular background. There are a lot of urban slum areas in Africa. Even in developed countries, we still have a slum areas. Therefore, those kind of research will appeal there. Then the second one is methodology. Most scholars or people who apply for their postdoctoral fellowship, they gloss over methodology. Methodology is so much important in your research because the funders will look what is the possibility of you delivering in your proposal and the possibilities on your methodology. Which is it quantitative? Is it qualitative? Is it mixed method? How am I going to organize my data? How am I going to collect my data? These are very, very important. You can write a fantastic proposal. You can write a fantastic objective and hypothesis without a good methodology to follow it up. Finally, you are not going to go anywhere. Funders will just look at it. They will just feel that you are not serious. You don't have a very good methodology. Therefore, methodology, your title and your methodology must stand out in your proposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. We just have 1 minute to the planned time for this workshop, and some persons are saying we should extend the time. Some are saying we should have another workshop and discuss issues that are unattended. But let me give our panelists, just wrapping up, how to make our application stand out. Then probably we could I could talk with them and see if there's a possibility for us to get back here, and if how best and how better we can coordinate a discourse as this. So I talked to Ezine right away. Please, how do I make my application stand out for a postdoctoral position?
I think I largely agree with Dr. Omema in this regard. I'll take my research proposal, for instance. So after my PhD, I sort of started looking at, using the little to mirror, to reflect into the big or into the whole. So when I did my PhD, it was almost like I am looking at the Nigerian film economy, but also in the larger picture, there are several developing evolving film economies in Africa that can actually borrow the template or the result of my research to develop or to further develop their own film economies. The same thing, I realized that there are folklores in Nigeria, there are folklores in different parts of Africa. And then the question for my research becomes, how do we economize African folktales, especially now that there are VODs or SVODs, like what's it called, video on demand platforms that are very interested in African stories or African cinema. How do young people, young Africans key into this as an opportunity to combat unemployment and the rest of those? How do we use this as opportunity to create a new identity for Africans and export that to non-Africans so that these stereotypes or stereotyping of Africans can change? So essentially, it's about you sitting down, but what I want to leave with you is to not be the Mr. Know-it-all. Like I said, I always say I'm a very independent researcher, but that doesn't mean that I do not seek help when I need help. So after writing my proposal, which took a long time, obviously, because the more I applied, the more I refined it. I don't recycle my proposals. I gave it, like I said, I gave it out to my master's, my PhD supervisor and all of those. So give it to people who are experts or have been researching in this area. Let them ask you questions. When they give you criticism, take it to heart. I know when my proposal was ready, my PhD supervisor asked me one question. I said, why do you think Germany will give you X amount of money to research this? Why is it important? And that was one thing that kept me going all as I kept writing my thesis, my proposal. So these are things, the quality of your proposal makes your application stand out. I'd say that's the bottom line. It's not about, and obviously, yeah, the quality of your publications eventually, because they want to know that you have published something from your PhD, for instance, and in quality journals as well. But the quality of your proposal will go a long way in affecting how your application, whether your application stands out or not. It will either keep you on the waiting list or put you on the other side.
Thank you very much. I will quickly say that social media is a very great way to connect. And I will share a secret with you. I have never met Ibala Jobi, Ezekwe, and Omema before. I just reached out to them via social media, and here we are having a very, very fruitful conversation, and they have sacrificed their 1 hour to give back to the community and volunteer information and experience to us. And you must, if you're not on LinkedIn, I don't know where else you should be as a rising scholar. If you're not on Twitter and searching out for professors and people in your field, reading those popular papers that you have cited, following them up, just searching their names out on this social media, especially LinkedIn and Twitter, to see their presence there, follow them on their university website and see what they're doing there and what social media handles or personal websites they may have. Then you may not be taking the right steps to familiarize yourself really with the experts you intend to work with in the future. So thank you very much. And I'll go to Olumuyiwa to give us a landing concluding statement on how to make I am a prospective postdoctoral researcher, so I'm very interested in this topic, and please fire on, Dr. Muyiwa.
Okay, thank you. I think I'm going to address it from, I guess that should be Dr. Kemiola Dipo. There are adverts for existing projects which do not need proposals. How do one make a winning application in that regard? So I'm going to take it from the aspect of STEM, especially, for other fields, you might have to write proposals. But for my field, for instance, when I came on board, there was already a grant for my research. So I only came with my expertise and plugged into the lab. I have my aims and objectives already written, and I started immediately. So if you see an ad, which is like, I am not a fan of adverts like calls, because it's a lot of people would apply. So if you see an ad, the first thing you have to do, don't even, when you are on Twitter, on LinkedIn, when you see ads, people are like, I'm interested. How do I go about it? No, go through the details of that call. Identify the research questions and make sure they align with your expertise. If you have a PhD in history and you want to come to the field of microbiology, it can never work. Make sure that field, unless you want to do like history of microbes from olden ages and you want to you're not going to do bench work. So identify the research questions and make sure they align with your expertise. And this is the reason why people get a lot of rejections, because if you don't have basic expertise, for instance, if you're a microbiologist and you do not have molecular experience, I'm sorry to say it will be hard for you to land not only a postdoctoral position, but also a graduate position. At a postdoctoral level, you are not expected to be trained in the lab. You are expected to oversee a team that you would mentor and provide them the necessary, guidance on how to be successful in the lab. So make sure you identify those research questions. And then this is what I usually do. Even when I see faculty positions, I reach out to the chair, or you reach out to the person, the contact on the ad. Like, okay, I saw your position, and I would agree with the previous Mr. Dr. Tochukwu. I saw a position you advertised. I am interested. This is my research expertise. Don't start with, dear Honorable Professor Ajala, how are you doing today and your family? Hope you are keeping fit. You have no business with that. Go straight, exhibit confidence. Okay, this is me. I have a PhD in this. This is my research expertise. I read your adverts. I have certain experience which aligns with the area of call. please find attached my CV. Now you can get a go ahead to go and apply. I did that for the University of Exeter, and the guy replied to me, oh, you have the necessary expertise, please apply. I attached my well-written CV, and then you can go through the interview. I think I haven't told people, I mean, the anchor of this program, there is a guy that resumed in Canada in July this year. He had his first degree, master's, PhD, postdoc in Nigeria. He resumed in July this year as a faculty professor in Canada. So your location should not limit you. You have to be out there, publish papers that shows how productive you are. Identify expertise that are novel in your field. There are a lot of institutes in Nigeria, Nigerian Institute of Medical Research, IIT in the field of biological sciences. Go there, volunteer, get all those expertise on your CV. The basic expertise on your CV that an high school student can do would not land you a postdoctoral position. So please identify the call. One, skill that most people don't really exhibit is getting to understand what are the requirements. There is a message in the group chats, like someone said he saw an advert, and one of the only requirement that he could not really, plug into the fact that he doesn't speak Latin or Spanish. And maybe this is just one requirement that can he or she go ahead to apply. The language of instruction in the lab might be Latin. In most labs in Germany, you have to have your presentations in German. So if you don't have basic skills in German language, you might not just plug into the system. So please, it's okay to exhibit faith, but again, you need the right expertise, and you should be able, to do research independently. I wish you all the best in your application procedure, and yeah, you can reach out to me. It's quite sad that the emails I get every day is overwhelming, and I look forward to another session of something like this. We can all come together to have an open session for questions. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I think at this point, I would say a big thank you. We have overshot our planned time by 10 minutes, and 2 people have dropped already. Of course, that's all right. I want to say a big thank you to somebody.
I have a question.
Okay. Should I say yes or no now? I've stopped people from asking questions vocally.
I think it's okay. I can still spare like 15 minutes. I don't know about Dr.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, let's just take this
please.
question. Let's just take this
Please,
question.
can I make last comment so that I can leave the office? It's already dark.
Yeah,
oh, sorry.
yeah. It's already too dark. Yeah. The doctor, sorry, I can't pronounce your name so much. The microbiologist. Thank you for your presentation. Yeah, Oyuwola, thank you for your presentation. Yeah, but I want to inform others who are not from that background of microbiology or science. He keep on mentioning lab agent and rest of them. That is his own background. He must be versed on that. But for some of us, and most of us who are from Faculty of Education, from Faculty of Arts, from Faculty of Social Science, their lab, their results is their publication.
Yes, for us as well, you need to publish papers. There's nothing you can do about it.
Your publication is their lab. Get a very good publication, and that is their lab. For instance, let me tell you, when I was in South Africa for 3 years, I was already planning for Humboldt Fellowship. And my plan is that I should tailor my publication to a particular area on conflicts. And I had 8 quality publications from Thomson Reuters journals. And these are very strong journals. Therefore, immediately I push it across to my host. He was quite enthusiastic about my publication and my area of specialization. Therefore, our lab is there, publication. Get yourself published. Get yourself published. And I bet you will land a postdoctoral fellowship soonest.
Guys, don't be daunted. This guy is a senior researcher. He's not an early career researcher, so don't.
Not like an early career researcher like us, right?
Do not jump out of the window yet. He's a senior. He's a senior colleague. This one is a master, is a boss.
Thank you very much for this perspective.
Yeah, but it still doesn't leave.
Please, I have a question, please. I have a question, please.
Okay, I think that should be Jolie, Nolly, Jack Nolly, I think.
Yeah,
okay,
can I ask my question?
Jack Nolly, ask your question, then Tijani, ask your question, then the panelists will take it together. We need to sit.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Eze and Dr.
I'm not yet.
Mori.
Sorry, sir. I'm not yet a doctor. Before
Okay.
before
All right.
I'm chained.
Honestly, you guys have really blown my mind. It's unfortunate I'm coming from engineering background, and most of my questions are supposed to be channeled to engineers because growing up in Nigeria, our background is something else. I've been doing a couple of research on industries. And when I apply to couples of professors abroad, they tell me that industrial-based research are no longer valid. So, and each time I get this turned down, is actually weakening my effort. Then in this aspect of building a research plan, in Nigeria, we jump from one skill to another, trying to make ends meet. And when you want to now narrow down your research plan, you wouldn't know where to start. And like some of us, we are still in our early research life as a master's degree student. So please, I would like to know if there is any way one can actually gather himself together and explore a particular niche at the doctorate degree level. Because right now I have a couple of research work I've done on artificial neural network. I have the one I'm currently doing on MPC. I have another one that I've done in PRC. So all of them are in diverse field. I don't know if it has any bad effect on me. Thank you.
Okay, Tijani was raising hands. I think our panelists are taking notes. We just want to take those questions.
Okay, please, do I have a chance to ask my question now?
Please go ahead. Just make it.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to have this opportunity. Immediately I logged in and I saw Dr. Igbala Jobi. I was so happy because I've already been watching his videos on YouTube, and he has been very helpful. Dr. Igbala Jobi, I just want to make a request. Actually, I just completed my master's degree program, and I'm looking for opportunities for a PhD program in USA. And the only challenge I'm having, I have a particular school on my list that is asking me to write a diversity statement. And I went through your some of those videos you have uploaded. I was not able to actually get something on diversity statement. I really don't have a clear understanding of what it looks like or how it should look like. So I will be glad. I'm just making a request if it will be possible for you to do a video on how to write a diversity statement, or if there's any way you can give us a brief. And the second question, sir, I'm also, my first degree and second degree is public administration, and I plan to switch field to political science. So what I try to do is to get some couple of articles. I think I've published 2 journal articles in related to political science, precisely in political behavior. So I just want to ask, if I'm applying to a PhD program, for example, is it necessary that I focus on those fields that I've actually published on, or I can also focus on another field that is still within the ambit of political science? Thank you very much.
You see the problem? No, we have 3 more hands up. Okay, let me just allow these 2 questions to go because these were the original ones we wanted to take. And if we have more time, then we can try. But I wish those who are raising their hands can type their question. It will help us. We're already overshot our time. So please, Dr. Muiwa, can you respond?
Oh, okay. For the first part, I'm not sure because I'm a microbiologist and not an engineer. So maybe I wouldn't really plug into that. Maybe, I mean, there was someone I mentored last year that I had about 10 PhD offers in the US. And I think it's in the field of maybe physics or something like that. And what he did at that point, I think he had a gap during his NYSC period, a year, and he focused on writing review papers, and it was majorly on simulations. So when he got those papers out, he started applying for grad school. He it was competitive that even like, MIT got into MIT and they were offering him a huge amount of money and other universities. So you might really need to look at the area that is involved in your field of interest and look at professors in that field, tailor your research. Like for me, when I was trying to apply for PhD, I looked at the area of interest that it's funded in my field. Okay, like medical mycology, like issues of antibiotic resistance and everything. I had to list those things as my research experience and make sure, my research interest instead of your general profile summary. So you replace it with your research interest, then you kind of, bullet it. And so that might be something you need to look at. Look at areas where you can improve in your area of interest, and also understand that these people have specific funding or grants already, which is like tailored towards a particular research question. So if you want to build a tunnel in Nigeria and you're looking for funding from a professor abroad to come and fund that research in Nigeria, it might not be applicable. So you want to tailor your research to what is applicable in the system. The other question about diversity statement. Diversity statement is something that is new in terms of application documents, because we have a community which every university now is talking about, diversity, they're talking about inclusion, they're talking about equity. So they want to see what you've been able to do, what you've been able, your involvement in promoting a diverse ecosystem. And that is why you need to cite examples. It's quite difficult, especially if you're coming from Africa, where you say like, oh, this person is a male, this person is a female, is supposed to be in the kitchen, this person is Yoruba, this person is Igbo, this person is Igbo. So it's quite very difficult for you to bring those resources together. I haven't made any YouTube videos on diversity statement, but I wrote something on my Twitter. You can check my pin post for template of diversity statement. And for someone like me that I've been applying for academic jobs, faculty jobs since last year, I also have a template of diversity statement, which I'm sorry, I can't share it online. There are a lot of people that saw my CV and SOP online plagiarized it. So I'm sorry, I won't be able to share that. So, but please just sit down, imagine yourself, if I'm getting to University of British Columbia today, how do I contribute to, the diverse environment? Do you want to invest in volunteering in high school, helping them to understand the issues of bringing science to them, indigenous people? Do you want to volunteer? Look at most universities, most departments, most faculty, they have a diversity statement. Look at how you can plug into that as maybe someone that is a first generation scientist in your lineage, or someone that is underrepresented in North America. At least all Blacks are underrepresented. So you want to come from that perspective to say, but someone that has an experience of being underrepresented and someone that have an experience of being the first person to probably, explore tertiary education, you have this experience and you want to contribute to the growth of the department by this and that. But you can just check the templates online and that should be okay for you. For me, what I do in Scholarship Cafe, like I talked to my brother Hazy, I documented that. I have about 40 pages of contribution to EDI with my posters and everything. So if you're ever involved in volunteering, if you've ever been involved in campaigns, you can put all those things as the ways you've had this leadership, you've had this innovative mindset, you are a part of a team that wants people to advance, you know how to identify problems and all those things. So you can put those in your diversity statement. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Dr. Uzine, please, can you touch on since Dr. Tochukwu may have logged out due to his time, can you throw some light on somebody switching from public admin to political science, and what he should look out for in taking this turn? We're already wrapping up.
I was going to say, you at this point, you're still very young to say this is my defined career path. You just finished your master's, you are going into PhD. There's no binding force to say, oh, because you've published 2 articles in this area, that has to be your area of going forward, your area of research or interest or whatsoever. It could change. Your PhD doesn't have to be a build on your master's. For instance, I'll take myself, for instance, my master's was in film and television, and essentially my what's it called, the concentration was on documentary filmmaking. That's almost like a practical aspect. Then the PhD became a completely different thing. It had nothing to do with documentary, had nothing to do with film, television, but instead it was on the Nigerian film industry, the transformation taking place. But essentially, the key thing you need, or what you need to determine what you do for your PhD or for your postdoc or whatsoever, is what is contemporary. Because at this point, what you've published from your master's or from the time of your master's may have become overtaken by research. So the question is, how contemporary is it? If there are still burning research questions emanating from that, then go for it. But if there isn't, then find something contemporary, something that answers a question that is burning in your heart, your academic heart, that you need to address. My PhD was on the Nigerian film industry, but going forward, I realized, oh, there is this Netflix is coming to Nigeria, and Amazon Prime and the rest of them. Netflix is also trying to sponsor Africans to tell story. And I thought this is a great opportunity for young Africans to key into, and then we can combat unemployment. This is an opportunity for us to resurrect all of the folk tales that have been handed over to us, because they're facing a way, and most of them are undocumented. But if we can begin now to scramble and look around for them, we can actually convert them to stories, great stories like Black Panther and the rest of them, even if they are fictional. There is opportunity for sci-fi. We can actually take a little bit from the past of Africa and convert it and look into the future and create amazing stories. And I was worried, essentially, in these times of Black Lives Matter and the rest of those, that they are also these are violence stemming from stereotypes that people have in their heads about Africa. Look at President Trump, for instance, saying Africa is, what did you call it, whole or something. And then we hear Africans in diaspora being asked, do you live in trees or do you live in huts, and all of those. People don't know about Africa. All they know is what they hear in the media. And then we say, how do we use our stories to sell Africa to the world, to us, even to create a new identity for us, to market Africa to us and to the world? So what is contemporary in your area of research interest? Go for that. It doesn't have to be what you've done in the past. You can build on it, but also what matters is how contemporary is your research question.
Thank you very much for throwing this light.
I think I just want to chip in
Okay.
something like public admin, political science. Look at the connection. There's always something. So it's not just about that you're moving away. Imagine there's a particular university in South Korea, KDI. They offer full funding for, people interested in public policy and even PhD. And even the university in South Korea, but in the school, it's like you're going to Harvard, because it's an English-speaking dominated university where, people from all over the world descend in their government officials to come and learn about public policy. So it's all about how you connect those dots. You are a computer scientist, you can end up to be a computational biologist. So you need to think outside the box, like someone wrote in the chat. So you're not completely deviating from your plan. And like Dr. Ezine said, you really need to understand, like, you don't have to narrow your path right now. I had 7 years experience as a bacteriologist, and I got to Korea, I switched. And so I can talk about bacteria today, and I can talk about fungi as well. So you need to be flexible and don't just box yourself in a corner, and eventually you have a problem with that.
Thank you very much to the panelists. At this point, we'll draw the curtains, and I'm sorry, the hands that are up, we are already far ahead of the planned time. If you have any question or questions that are unattended to, I'm sure you would easily find our panelists through their emails to throw in your question, and you've been told how to make it sharp and clear and straightforward so you could get the answers that you need. And the recording of this seminar, this workshop, I will send a link across to us as soon as it is available in the coming days, so that we can rewatch that and look through and grab those things that we may have missed while we're running. At this time, I would say to wrap up that no matter the number of no's, work hard to get 1 yes. 1 yes will cancel the thousands of no's. And with this, we say thank you very much to all our participants, And I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. I saw a lot going on in the charts, and I would also hang around a bit to allow you read through the charts if you are missing something. And Olumi was typing here saying, search for postdocs on LinkedIn too. Most professors advertise on Twitter as well. And I say thank you to our panelists. Thank you to our participants for gracing this first occasion of our early career workshop. And I look forward to success stories and results of your inspirations and motivations from this short meeting. Thank you, good night, and good morning to Dr. Muyiwa. It's morning in Canada. And I wish you all the best for the night or the morning, for the afternoon, whatever time it is. So see you around. And then if we have a lot of requests to bring back these panelists, then we will consider to talk with them and see if they have some free space in sometime in the near future to hold a 2.0 version of this meeting. So have a good time. And I'm going to be logging out of this meeting in 2 minutes. So if you have something to pick up in the chat, you could quickly read through and get through with that. Thank you again and again. And I'm so happy to see the success of this meeting. Bye.